Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to another Warhammer 40k podcast. As usual, we're going live to Twitch every single Sunday, and if you're watching this on YouTube, it was last night and you missed it, so make sure you get ready for next week's. And next week's is Sunday as well. And we've already mentioned that 1 week this month, we're going to have to do it on a Monday because I work night shifts, boo. But otherwise, we do these every Sunday live on Twitch, so check out the link in the video description below, go live to Twitch, and you'll come and find us. Tonight we have a very, very special guest. You've probably already heard him make loads of noise on his microphone because he's as technically apt as a cat. And we welcome Mr. Winters SEO.
Hello. Sorry, I'll put the thing down.
You put the thing down. Why is your phone playing up right now when we go live on YouTube?
I just put it down. I'll pick it up again.
And there we go. Literally has the technological ability of a cat, I told you. So originally, or normally what we do when we do these live podcasts is we open up a discussion to the guys in Discord and we ask them, what do you want to talk about? Let's have a conversation. And we were going to talk about bookkeeping in 8th edition, which we might even cover because I'm sure Winters has got an opinion anyway. But alternatively, what we're probably going to do, since this is live on the weekend of the pre-order for Shadowspear, is talk about that, because Mr. Winters, your videos went live yesterday for the 2 Codex reviews, right?
Yeah, well, yes, they sent it through to me. I got it on Thursday, and I was in the middle of a set of night shifts, so which is normally I'd prepare the videos and have them to go up on the day at a certain time, but I literally got home, went to bed, woke up, did the videos, edited the videos, put them up as quick as I can. So they went up yesterday. Yeah, I think one about 3, one about 6 by the time I was done.
Yeah, there was a comment from some of our guys saying that you sounded a little bit grumpy on the Space Marine one, and I originally made the excuse that that's okay, he's just come off nights and he's getting old and he might not have had his bag changed yet. And then I watched it and I realised that actually it was got nothing to do with the tiredness, because you did the Khorne Demonkin or the Chaos Demonkin one first, right?
Yes.
So it was
yeah,
just because
I was more excited for the Chaos Demonkin stuff. The models in there just look shiny. The new sculpts look great.
Yeah.
The Space Marine one, I apologies if I came across as grumpy. I wasn't grumpy at all with the Space Marine stuff. I think the Space Marine stuff is exactly the sort of thing that we kind of expected from Games Workshop at this stage, though it would have been nice to have some sort of close combat Primaris unit. We didn't get that. But what we got with the Chaos Space Marine stuff, the Demonkin, is fantastic.
Yeah, it is good. I should mention now quickly before we go off on the tangent straight away. You've probably just seen someone pop up on the screen saying they've donated. We're currently running a raffle live on the channel, so if you head on over to the Twitch page, if you're watching on YouTube, click the donate button below. £5, every £5 gets you a raffle ticket for a brand new Shadowspear box provided by Element Games, and all the proceeds are going to Mikey P and Andy Burns' charity 100-kilometre walk, which they're completing over 2 days, and all the charity proceeds from that go to Parkinson's UK?
Parkinson's UK, that's right.
That's what I thought, yeah. So just to explain, and if you're in the chat currently thinking about buying Shadowspear, you could get it for £5 if you're lucky.
Be generous.
Yeah, 31st
Buy lots
of March,
of tickets.
Mother's Day we're shutting this because I'm going to work on Mother's Day and then I'm going to do a podcast, and she's really happy about that. Anyway, there we go. That just explains that little donation that just came through. So most
Mikey P,
Yes.
how's the training going?
Yeah, reasonable.
What's reasonable? 2 miles, 3 miles? How far you got?
He walked to his car to drive here.
I did.
Yeah.
I did do that. I did. Normally I'd sort of crawl or roll, but this time I decided I'd walk.
Have you got like weights to put on your ankles and things so you walk around with additional weights?
Or like Super Saiyan training. No, no, not really. No, I just walk in lots, trying to. I'm not doing as well as Andy. He's walking more than I am.
Yeah. And since it's a team effort, that's kind of bad, right?
Well, it's fine. It just means that I can hop on his back.
Yeah.
If I get tired, you know.
Okay.
Well, make sure you stay hydrated.
Oh yes, I will do.
Well, we are trying our best to push you over the edge for that target goal you've got.
Yeah, it's in July as well, so hydration will be key.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, let's get back on topic and let's talk about Shadowspear then, Winters, because there was a lot of videos yesterday, points and stuff like that. When the rules were leaked all over Google, there was a lot of people saying that Primaris Marines get all the new toys and Chaos have got nothing, and Chaos are outdone again, and Marines are favourite. And since looking at the points and the rules and the psychic disciplines and the warlord traits, I think it's the other way round.
I do too.
Yeah, I think Chaos have got the stronger deal out of this box.
Yes. Because, well, let's touch on the Space Marines first, because we don't really want to talk about them, because you're a Chaos player.
Yeah, but you're a Marine player, so you know.
Let's get it out of the way.
And it's your podcast. So if we quickly talk about the Space Marines to say why we don't think they've got the pointy end of the stick. They've got the dull end of the stick. It's basically we've got some troops with some AP dash strength 4 weaponry. I know that they prevent deep strike within 12 inches, and that could be effective, but they're 22 points a model. So 5 of them is 110 points. So basically we've got some troops, and then we've got some elites. And the snipers come in units of 3, so that's 3 single shots.
Yeah,
that ain't great.
No.
And then you've got the bouncy dudes. They're not jumpy dudes because they haven't got jetpacks. They're bouncy dudes because they've got grab shoots.
What they are is shit-looking models. That's what they are.
Yeah, derpy.
You said another naughty word.
It's derpy models, mate, isn't it? You said it yourself. You said the word derpy, I think, on the video.
Yes.
Because they're derpy, right? They're just. We went through this last week. I'm not going to dilly-dally on it for too long, but there's a couple of psychic powers that I thought could have actually really benefited them. Yet they don't have the Phobos keyword, so they can't use those anyway.
Yes.
Seems odd. Seems like an odd choice for this particular box.
Yes. I just think that the only thing interesting in there is the suppressors, the guys with the big guns that are compensating. They're very interesting because for Primaris Marines, they're now the longest range Primaris Marines. And they're auto cannons, but they're AP -2 auto cannons. So they're interesting. But the psychic powers and the other things in there are all a bit middle of the road. They're okay. They're not bad. I mean, but they're not great.
They're better than everything else that Marines have got, though, haven't they?
Who? What? Which?
Well, the psychic powers. I mean, apart from
you weren't blown away by the obscuration discipline, were you, mate?
No, not at all. What's wrong with Might of Heroes?
No, Might of Heroes is okay.
What's wrong with Null Zone?
Null Zone is good.
Well, we were looking at them earlier before we started the podcast, knowing that you were going to join us. We had a quick check on it, and to be honest with you, having looked at the discipline, I think you will only see the first 3, if I'm honest, because I just think the last 3, which require you to be within 18 inches of an enemy unit, is risking your Libby for not a lot of reward, really.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean the one that halves the unit's move and charge. It could be useful, but it's pretty situational.
Yeah, but Shrouding's good, because that's essentially Cloud of Flies, right? But for Marines, I think that's a really good, although you can only put it on Phobos, that's a really good power. Scryer's Gaze, reroll and failed to hits, is okay, but you have captains everywhere anyway.
Generally, hitting's not much of a problem for Marines anyway, is it?
But that could help the unit which is called the... I'm scrolling. What were the Eliminators, is it?
Snipers.
Yeah, the Eliminators. So that could help the Eliminators, I suppose, to a degree.
So Cloud of Flies, the one that you can't shoot at, that one.
Yeah.
Can only put it on Phobos units.
Yeah, I know.
So that's the Eliminators, that's the troops, and that's Reavers. Why would you bother? It would be great if you could put it on a repulsor with las cannons, or put it on some Hellblasters, or put it on some suppressors.
Calm down, you're not Eldar.
Why are you bothering to save a unit of guys who are just troops or 3 elites? It doesn't make a sense. You're going to smite every day of the week. The only time you're ever going to use that is if you've jumped onto a particular objective and your opponent needs to blow you off of it for defend. Then you might chuck it on that particular unit.
I think that's the problem with this tree as well, is the fact that the first 3 that are kind of buffs are all for Phobos only.
Yes, and the psychic powers, pretty much all of them there are very situational. Now, the best psychic powers you can get, like Doom and Guide, they're not situational. You're going to use them every single turn.
Yeah.
Might of Heroes, you use every single turn. Good psychic powers are ones that you want to get to. Tyrannid things, Horror, Catalyst, ones that you want to use every single turn.
Yeah.
If you've got psychic powers that are situational, that you might come in really handy, and when they do come in handy, awesome. But when you use once a battle, that's not a good psychic tree.
Yeah, it's the same as the Chaos Discipline with things like Warp Time and Prescience. You tend to use them or see them used every single turn if you can. And people tend to plan their psychic powers as something they can get maximum use out of, and therefore you want to use it every turn. I guess you're right with these. We did read the first 3. Some of them I've got some odd choices though. Like Temporal Corridor, the idea of giving a Marine unit a type of warp time I thought was really, really good. But the fact that you have to advance makes it a bit shit.
It is really good. It is really good for those situational moments when you get draw objective 6 and it's 13 inches away.
Yeah.
So, right, I need to get on there. So you run forward, you advance, and then you cast the spell, and then they run and advance, and suddenly you're on the objective that you need to grab. Or on those occasions when you need supremacy, when you suddenly need to slingshot a unit a bit further to get onto the 3rd objective. It's very good for those situational moments, but apart from those times, I can't think of another occasion where you'd want to use it. I'd much rather have a psychic power that you could pop again and again and again. How about some sort of psychic power that does something to your bolt shells, just to make even the eliminators in this book, the troops in this book, AP -1? That would be nice. Just like intercessors are already AP -1.
The only thing I would say with the temporal corridor that is good is it doesn't nerf your shooting at all, does it? You can still shoot if you use it. Doesn't say anywhere you can't. So a lot of those other moves, those ones that say you can like double move, they tend to limit what you can shoot.
You
afterwards.
can, but you need to make sure you've got assault weapons to do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, because you've advanced.
Indeed.
Some of the units that we were covering from them, because we're doing the Marines first, Mikey and I covered these last week, and we were talking about the new captain in Phobos Armour, and I suggested that actually he's possibly a better choice over normal captains. What do you reckon?
Why?
Because he's got a special weapon that can target characters should he so need that's 30 inches. Because if you keep him at the back line, buffing vehicles like a lot of people do, he's got a camo cloak, so he gets +2 to his saving throws. And because he's got an Omni Scrambler as well, which means people can't deploy within 12 inches of him. The concealed positions thing, I couldn't give a shit about that, quite frankly, because you're normally going to keep him with units that you want to get the reroll to hit rolls of 1. So you're probably going to have him in your own backfield, buffing other units. But if you do stick him on a tiny little piece of ruins or something, you're talking about a captain with a 1-up save, who also has a 4-up invulnerable save, who could, if he wanted to, target a character. I know it's only strength 4 and it's a heavy weapon, but he's got that option. And you are protecting stuff from getting deep struck in and charged because he gives you that 12-inch bubble. I just thought that what's his points, mate? You did tell us.
I think it's 108 points.
So he's not that pricey either compared to a normal captain, really, is he?
Or was it 120? I can't find the book. I can't find the Space Marine book. I think I burnt it. But it's
dirty protest to that.
You have a captain in the backfield, great. If this guy is in the backfield buffing everything, giving you re-rolls, he's not at the front of that, pushing the 12-inch bubble back. So his Omniscope thing isn't working in real time. You're going to have a tank to the one side of him, devastators to the other side of him, and some screening units in front if you're doing it correctly, because you don't want your tank and your devastators to get assaulted.
True.
So people are going to be deep striking back further than the 12-inch round. Let me finish, young man. So the Omniscope thing doesn't work at all. So what you're getting instead, you're getting a lovely gun, which you might pull out of his pocket and fire every now and then. I would much rather, the better way to do it is have the cheapest chips captain, the 70-point captain, leave him back there with just a chainsword, nothing at all. And if you want to snipe stuff, if you want to have something in your army list that snipe stuff, just get a Vindicare, 85 points.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s of Vindicare, any characters, ignoring invulnerable saves, doing D3 damage, and mortal wounds on a 3, then a 4, then a 5, then a 6. And if you get 6 to wound, that's D6 damage and double shot with the stratagem. And if you kill a character with a Vindicare, you get 2 points back again by spending 1 stratagem. It's just
we've just been told in the chat that a normal Primaris captain, not even just a regular captain, is 82 points. So that if he is 120, I suppose that is actually a big difference as well. 38 points is massive.
Yeah, regular captain, 72 points.
I thought he was an auto-include. The thing is, I know what you're saying about the protection as well, with screening units in front of him and tanks to his right and judge to his left. But there is a bonus to this, is that you have to worry less about your backfield as well for charges, because obviously you have to deploy more than 12 inches away from him, so you cannot charge, because you can only declare a charge if you're within 12. Yeah. But it's not 38 points worth of screening, I suppose.
No.
I'm just suggesting that the captain will be in the middle and there'll be something to the right and left of him anyway. Yeah. Typically, that's what's the case. So
Clowns to the right and Jokers to the left, right?
Yeah, you're not deep striking within 12 inches of the captain. You're deep striking 9 inches away from the predator that is to the left of the captain or to the right of the captain.
Okay, all right.
So that deep strike thing won't work. And having something that has reroll hit rolls of 1 is great on a cheap model.
Yeah.
And chuck a lieutenant in there as well. He's only 60 points. So for 140 points, you've got reroll hit rolls of 1, reroll wound rolls of 1, and get a Vindicare. That's 140 points. You'll know what it's like soon to have a bubble of reroll hit rolls of 1, reroll wound rolls of 1.
We'll cover that soon. Yeah. Don't blow your load too fast. All right.
I'm just excited.
The librarian in Phobos Armour, for me, the only reason why you'd ever actually take him is because he looks cool. Otherwise, I don't think he adds all that much that you won't get from a normal Primaris librarian anyway. The camo cloak's nice, but meh, I'm not bothered by that. The eliminators are the expensive snipers. We've covered those. I think they're really good, though, to be fair. Although units of 3, I know what you're saying. I just think they're good. The lieutenant with a grav shoot is just shit, isn't he? He's a waste. He's a waste. I just don't get him at all. Other lieutenants are better. And so I don't think
Look,
they're
there's
bad.
a narrative list here with the lieutenant and the grav shoot and the guys that can, and the captain that can pop up. There's a narrative list which is you've got some stuff in your backfield, your tanks, your devastators, whatever, and then you've got a second detachment which all appears in turn 2 at various points of the battlefield. Your lieutenant, your captain, all of these guys, boom, boom, boom. There's a nice narrative list. It's just not going to be terribly competitive.
Yeah, I mean, you can basically set up a turn 2 castle, can't you, somewhere on the field. So
my honest opinion is the best unit they get from the whole book is in fact the infiltrators, the basic troops, because they have those weapons that auto wound on 6s. They can conceal themselves, so they basically work like scouts, but they're Primaris Marines. So they're 2 wounds and 3 up armor save rather than scout 4 up armor save and 1 wound.
What's the points on those?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the man at the other end of the phone.
Yeah,
There are 22 points for a rapid fire, strength 4, AP 0.
So
24-inch range.
So what are we talking? 110 for 5, as opposed to intercessors, which are what, 70, 80?
Intercessors are 17 points a model.
Yeah, 5
and
points
they're
extra.
30-inch range, AP -1.
Wow. So actually, they're 20 points more for less AP, shorter range, but the ability to set up like scouts, have that deep strike denial, blah blah blah. I get the trade-off there. Actually,
I take it all back. They all suck.
I don't think they're that bad. And let's be fair, if people are going to find broken combos, we'll see them soon anyway. On the internet.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm sure there is something in there that's going to be very useful. I think it does give Marines options they didn't have before.
Yeah,
in some ways.
And I'm sure we'll see them in the
castle mid-game.
I'm sure we'll see them in the colours of the 13th soon enough anyway.
No doubt.
Yes. Having a unit of 5 of these guys further up the table, pushing that deep striking bubble back is useful. But if you don't hide them well, your enemy will absolutely frag them because they're pushing the deep strike bubble back.
Yeah, I mean they're just a lot more expensive and a little bit better than scouts for that, really, aren't they?
Basically, yeah. Why not bring scouts? 11 points each.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
you can get 2 scouts for one of these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
The bonus for me is that I don't play Space Marines really.
No.
So
right.
I don't really care about all of that. That's an interesting question from the chat, actually, mate. You can answer this. The Helix Adept in the Infiltrator squad, how much is he as an upgrade?
32 points.
So he's a 32 points for a single model. So he's a 10-point upgrade, essentially.
Yes, and the way I read the rules is you can't bring a Helix, because it says Eliminators coming in unit 5, or you can add 4 more plus a Helix Adept. So the way I read it is you need a full squad of 10 to bring one of these Adepts.
I thought when I haven't got the book in front of me or anything. When I read it, I thought it meant that if you take 6, one of them could be a Helix Adept, but I might have read it wrong.
Yeah, you could be.
Don't know.
You might have read it correctly, but either 6 of them. He's 32 points.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
And he picks one up who's dead on a 5, or he heals one wound.
Yeah.
So he's only coming to effect 1/3 of the time.
There's a question in the chat already, and it's the same always with GW, unfortunately, and that's we're going to be looking at a day 1 strike 2 week FAQ on this already, aren't we? Because there's a couple other things as well that need FAQ in.
Well, they do, don't they? If 2 weeks after everything's released, they FAQ it.
Yeah, they what?
FAQ it.
Right, okay.
What did he say?
He said they FAQ it.
FAQ you.
They FAQ it, mate. He's just being lazy.
How rude.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
So we are going to see an FAQ for them because we will. They just always get one. There's a couple other things that we need to cover as well to do with this FAQ. One of which comes from the first psychic power for the new Malefic discipline as well.
Yay.
Because now we're going to talk about the stuff that is really interesting and that I've been losing my mind over the last couple of days and since I've seen the models.
I just need to put a shower curtain up between us so I don't get caught in the
spray.
The splashback.
It's so good, mate. So this is the thing that's ruined your podcast, people, tonight, because I was going to talk about your topic and now I'm talking about mine. But the first one's Incursion, which so that I think this needs an FAQ because it doesn't state, and it should, I think, that in match play you need reinforcement points for this. However, it doesn't say that. Now, they've got quite good lately when things need reinforcement points as having in the stratagem or the rule saying this will cost reinforcement points. And this doesn't. that's interesting. Either it's a monumental cock-up on GW's part, and they meant to add that in, which is, I suspect, probably true, or it doesn't actually cost reinforcement points to use this ability and summon demons. That's dangerous, I think.
Well, we need someone to check and double-check the fact, because as far as I'm concerned, if you are introducing any units to the game that you haven't paid for in match play, you need to pay for them.
Yeah.
And so this isn't introducing, you're summoning. You're bringing a unit into the game. In match play, you need to have paid for it.
Yeah. I think there's very, very, very few examples where you can add something and you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Even in the Thousand Suns book. Go on.
Reinforcing units that got injured, you don't have to pay for it. So adding bugs back to a Termagant unit.
Yep.
Or picking people up with an apothecary, things like that. So if you're replacing injured models, that you don't pay for, but I'm fairly certain in the fact somewhere it says if you're introducing new stuff, I forget the wording, but you pay points, and it's in the general one in the big fact.
Okay. Well, I'm convinced it's probably the case that you have to pay the points. I just thought it was interesting they didn't put it in the rule, because I would have thought that at the time they wrote this, they probably would have already learnt that lesson. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hopeful.
Don't know.
Interesting. But we've got some others. I mean, that to be honest, I think in competitive play or even match play, that's the one you're going to see the least. Sacrifice, that's quite nice. If you
can I just stop you for a second on that?
You can always, mate, always.
Thank you. So incursion, I know it's probably the weakest power here. However, you roll 4 dice instead of 3.
Yeah.
4 dice instead of 3. So
and you don't suffer the mortal wounds as well, which is important.
You don't suffer them any mortal wounds as a result of a doubles or triples being rolled for this demonic ritual. So normally when people bring stuff that they want to summon in, they typically bring units that are only 4, 5, 6 power.
Yeah,
they're not going to have a bloodthirster. They're not going to have something nasty waiting in the wings. Now, because people are rolling 4 dice, suddenly you could reliably stack power level 10, 11, 12 units ready to jump in if you need them, and you could reliably get it off with incursion. I think there's some canny tournament players out there that will bring 3 or 4 or 5 big high power level units, pay the points for them, and have them sat to one side. And then with incursion, depending what they need, bam, it turns up.
So with incursion, I mean 4d6, the mathematical average on that is 14, and a bloodthirster's power level 17. So it's not that far off, is it? Really?
No.
You just need a slightly above average roll, and you could summon a greater demon. That's quite important. The other thing is the way it reads to me, and this has been argued already, I've seen online, but the way it reads to me is that you can move and then still use this power, meaning you can summon and move, which is the current biggest restriction for Chaos players with summoning, is that currently you have to stand your character still in the movement phase and then summon your demons. This one looks to me like, some people have argued this, because it says as if it were the movement phase. Some people have said, well, because in the movement phase you have to stand still, you should have stood still to use this power. I think that's crap.
Doesn't say you've got to stand still.
No, so now, but if you did stand him still, the other option is you can summon twice with the same character as well, which is important.
Ooh.
And if he's a word bearer's character, you can spend a stratagem in the movement phase to summon on 4d6 and not suffer mortal wounds, and then do this in the psychic phase to summon on 4d6 and not suffer mortal wounds. So suddenly, word bearer's Masters of Possession can be horrendous, and then you've got a venom crawler nearby, which gives you +1 to your demon summoning as well. That could be quite vile.
Yeah, absolutely you can move.
You reckon?
Well, the movement phase is one phase, so you can move and advance, and then in the psychic phase you summon, as if it were the movement phase. It's not the movement phase, but as if it were. So you move in the movement phase and advance, get to where you need to be, then summon.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you should be able to. I think this is allowing you to move. I'm just saying it has been argued.
Sorcerer Dave's excited by that.
Sorcerer Dave in the chat is, in fact, a word bearer's player, and he's very, very excited about this summoning stuff. Very narrative for them as well, which is cool. But there is the opportunity there, like I say, for a word bearer's Master of Possession to summon twice in one turn on 4d6 and not suffer mortal wounds. That's massive.
And people normally summon in bloodletter bombs or things like that, or stuff that doesn't cost too many points. However, a Keeper of Secrets is power level 12. A Soul Grinder, power level 12. You're reliably going to drop in some nasty things like that and move to where you need it to be and then let them drop in.
Yeah, amazing. We'll move on to Sacrifice. Sacrifice is better than I thought, because the way I listened to it on your little video yesterday, I thought you had to sacrifice a Legion Demon unit, but you don't. You just sacrifice any model within 2 inches of the Psyker, and then you can heal a Legion Demon unit within 18 inches of the Psyker, which is quite a big range.
It is.
I had an idea after I did the video. Do you want to hear it?
Is it lots of cultists?
Yes.
Is it? Did you have the idea, or was it because it was on a comment on your video?
It was on a comment on my video.
Yeah.
Well owned up.
This is the dangerous part when I do watch your videos, mate. So sacrifice, basically, if you've got a demon engine 18 inches near the Psyker, you can pick a unit, a model, within 2 inches of him, sacrifice him on a warp charge value of 4, which is nothing, and then the demon engine heals D3 mortal wounds. If that's a warp smith that you're doing to the demon engine, then it's a flat 3 wounds healed. So you have a Psyker surrounded by cultists, as Winters has just alluded to from a comment on his video. You can just every turn heal D3 wounds back on a demon engine or on a demon legion model, and that's the other thing that's key. What people seem to be forgetting. So the last part about demon engines is obviously for demon engines, clearly, because it says that, and that's the bit about the warpsmith. But the first part says choose a friendly demon legion model within 18 inches of the Psyker, so you can actually use your cultists to heal obliterators.
Yeah.
And people seem to have missed that. And they're now 4 wounds.
Yep.
So you could have an obliterator on a wound left, and potentially with the cost of a 5-point cultist, you could heal it back up to 4 wounds, which is awesome, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
And 4 wounds is a great number to have as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 4 wounds is an amazing number to have because there's lots of flat 3 damage stuff out there.
And D3s.
Yep. Well, you got a Venom Crawler. The Venom Crawler is healing a wound at the start of the turn with Devourer of Souls anyway, regains a wound at the start of the turn, and then you kill a cultist and put a couple more wounds back on your spider dude, your Venom Crawler.
Yeah.
Remember that Venom Crawler will have a 4-up invulnerable save, not a 5-up invulnerable save, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I mean, because you're already talking about the fact that you think most people, when you pushed me towards this last night, should run 2 of these dudes straight away, 2 of these Masters of Possessions.
Yes.
Maybe, we'll see. I'll tell you the list I've come up with in a minute anyway.
Nice.
All right, noisy. Anyway, then we've got Mutated Invigoration. Average, not terrible. I think predominantly you'll see most people use these on a blitz, and basically that gives you those rerolls. That's all right. We're not going to cover that one too much because it's meh. Possession, again, a bit meh. It's all right. It gets better AP, and you can make vehicles automatically explode, but then you've got the bring in spawn or Greater Possessed. That's reinforcement points. And then we come to the 2 that you are raving about, right?
Yeah.
Cursed Earth and Infernal Power. Cursed Earth with a warp charge value of 7. Now, I missed this part until I watched your video. Manifested the unit at the start of your next phase. This invulnerable save for friendly Legion Demon units is improved by 1 whilst they're within 6 of the Psyker. So that's a 6-inch aura plus 1 invulnerable save to all Legion Demon models. That's Helldrakes, Mauler Fiends, Forge Fiends, Possessed, Obliterators, great. It's just so much stuff that's Legion Demon. Demon Princes, Venom Crawlers, they all get +1 invulnerable save. So you're rocking a 4+ invulnerable save. If you get that off, I know you've got to keep it within 6 inches, but if you imagine this guy at the backfield with Obliterators and Venom Crawlers, it just makes them more survivable straight away.
Say you're Zinch. Really, so you're starting a 4-up invulnerable save already.
Yeah.
+1 to all of that. 3-up invulnerable save demons all around you.
Ooh, that's interesting, actually.
Yowza.
Because, okay.
With
so I think,
bubble.
If I remember rightly as well, I think things like Exalted Sorcerers on discs from the Thousand Suns Codex are classed as demons as soon as they go on a disc of Zinch.
Because the disc is a demon.
So they become Demon Legion model when you get +1 on Exalted Sorcerers and stuff like that as well. That's quite interesting. And then things like Zangor Enlightened and etc. And you could put Weaver of Fates on them, which gives them a 4+ invulnerable save, and then drop this one for a 3+. Lots of synergy. We love that.
It's a very, very, very good psychic power. That buff +1 invulnerable save to everything with a 12-inch bubble. That's just awesome. In narrative games, you can have 2 of these guys doing it every turn. But that +1 invulnerable save.
And I originally thought that was the strongest power in the book because I also thought Infernal Power required you to pick a friendly unit. And then again, your video told me differently. And it's a warp charge value of 6 as well, which is below an average roll. And it says basically that you get to reroll to hit and wound rolls for Legion Demons within 6 inches of the Psyker. Again, an aura bubble. And you turn your 98-point Master of Possession into a Captain and Lieutenant.
Yep.
For a single psychic power
Pretty
at 98
tasty.
points. That's amazing.
everyone brings a captain and lieutenant, and the cheapest version of them is 130, 140 points in the Space Marine book. This Master of Possession guy is 98 points with his Force Stave, and he's a captain lieutenant on his own, and it's a warp charge value of 6.
Yeah.
So we talked about it, and the way to definitely get these things off is I would make the Master of Possession your Warlord, because he's staying at the back, he's not getting targeted, he's a character, and there's a Warlord trait, a reroll, called Warp Lord. You can reroll warp ones when taking a psychic test for your Warlord.
Yeah.
So he's re-rolling those ones, which helps you. You're guaranteed. And you pointed something out as well. Like if you roll a 1 and a 3 and it's, I failed, then you can re-roll the 1. And if you still failed, you could do a command point re-roll on the 3.
Yeah. So you could arguably end up re-rolling both dice, which is similar to the sort of power a Farseer gets, which is quite impressive. Although something I did find out today. The first Warlord trait on that tree allows you to take an additional psychic power. And we spoke about this last night. And I know that you can't cast a third psychic power, but there's options here. It costs command points to do this, but there's options. So what you could do potentially is you could just pick a third power that you don't care about. There's then a stratagem in the Chaos Space Marine Codex. I forget the name of it. I'm trying to open the book in front of me now and not knock my microphone. But there's a stratagem in the Chaos Space Marine book that basically you spend a command point at any point and you can swap that power for a power from the Dark Hereticus discipline. Chaos Familiar. Use this stratagem at the start of your psychic phase. Select a friendly Heretic Astartes Psyker. That model can replace any of its psychic powers with a power of your choice from the Dark Hereticus discipline. Suddenly you can give your Master of Possession Warp Time, or Prescience, or Death Hex. So that's amazingly good. So you could, if you weren't worried about the rerolling ones, you could take the additional power, keep what's it called? The other two we were just talking about. Keep
Cursed Earth, Infernal Power,
Thank you.
And mutated Invigoration if you're doing the Blitz and the Venom Crawler thing.
Yeah, and you could trade one of those in for a Dark Hereticus power when you desperately need that Warp Time, when you desperately need that Prescience or something like that. That's massively good. Even that power is strong, but I think you're right. I think the reroll ones is probably the stronger choice.
What grants it access to all the Chaos Space Marine?
The stratagem. Yeah, the stratagem.
That allows you to change it.
So the stratagem says you can I've just shut the book, Mikey P.
Well, I was just making sure the keywords all match up, that's all.
Use this stratagem at the start of your psychic phase. Select a friendly Heretic Astartes Psyker, which he is.
Yeah, fine.
That model can replace any of its psychic powers with a power of your choice from the Dark Hereticus discipline.
Yeah, okay.
So your Master of Possession can then have a Dark Hereticus power if he wants to.
No, that's fine. Just checking. Checking.
So
that is interesting at the moment, but I imagine that might get fact.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, the guy can take from the Malefic discipline only. They might fact that. So I wouldn't gamble on that one.
I would agree with you if it wasn't for the fact that there's already been a precedent set in the Thousand Suns Codex. So Thousand Suns Codex has 3 psychic trees: Dark Hereticus, Discipline of Change, and Discipline of Tzeentch. Now, most of the guys in the Thousand Suns Codex, for example, Araman, can only take 2 from 2 disciplines. So he gets Dark Hereticus and Discipline of Change, I think it is, because Tzeentch is the demon one, or it's the other way around. They've got the same type of stratagem, and they are allowed to trade that in for one off of the tree that they can't normally select from. And that's been the way since the Codex has dropped. It's never been FAQ'd out. Yeah,
that is true in Thousand Suns. I think so. Sorcerer Davidson here has put Thousand Sons of Death Guard don't count as Legion models, apparently.
Ooh.
GW specified it. So I don't think there's some keyword shenanigans there that's probably going to get fact.
So you probably can't buff Exalted Sorcerers and Zangors and stuff like that. Oh well. I mean, they're good enough anyway. Thousand Suns are probably one of the stronger Heretic Astartes books currently.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a couple of weeks before the fact comes out and they can really look at it and really decide what combos you can and can't do.
But the other bonus you do get with that trading a power in is you also can give your Master of Possession a Mark of Chaos. So you can give him Nurgle, Tzeentch, Slaanesh. And then you have got the 3 psychic powers in the Dark Hereticus discipline that exist in the Chaos Codex, which are for Tzeentch specifically, Nurgle and Slaanesh. So, for example, Tzeentch, he can take Weaver of Fates. So if you give him Mark of Tzeentch and Weaver of Fates, and then you drop Cursed Earth, your Master of Possession will be on a 3+ invulnerable save. If you made your Blitz Mark of Zinch, you could do Cursed Earth and Weaver of Fates on those, and your Blitz become a 3+ invulnerable save. And it's been mentioned in the chat that they thought that it had been FAQ'd that you can't improve demon saves plus 4+ invulnerable save. Yeah, that's true. For demons in the Chaos Demons book, nothing about Heretic Astartes and Legion demons, different keywords. So you could have 3+ invulnerable save obliterators. But what's more important with those is, we were talking about this last night, make them Mark of Slanesh, because everyone does that anyway.
Yeah.
And then you go for Endless Cacophony.
Yeah.
2 command points, and your obliterate is fired twice. And now you're looking at the potential to have 3 oblits are now 18 shots, firing twice for 36 shots, with incursion for rerolling ones for wounding, rerolling ones for to hit rolls. It's just so good. There's been a lot of chat today in our Discord, actually, Winters. This is going to be an interesting chat, because I had the same chat with you, and rather than me try and explain what you said, it's better that you talk about it. One of the biggest comments, and it's also occurred on your video, is that a blitz at 115 points are now too expensive, apparently.
Well, okay, there's a couple of things about that. So they're a toughness 5 4-wound model, which is the same as Alara's Terminators in the Custodes book, right?
Yeah.
They're toughness 5, 4 wounds, and they have a 5+ invulnerable save, but the obliterators have they have a 4+ invulnerable save, but the obliterators have a 5+ invulnerable save. But we just talked about ways that you can buff it. And Alara's Terminator with an axe is something like 90 points.
Yeah.
And what does the axe do? Well, he's very choppy, but he's not very shooty. What you've got here is an obliterator for about 20-30 points more than him, which is very punchy. So he's strength 5, -1, D3 damage with 3 attacks hitting on 3s.
Strength
but
6,
he's also
+1.
Strength 6, yeah. But his gun is also incredibly good. So I think for the points, if you compare it to an Alara's Terminator, it is point for point the right money. Now, obliterators, what are they? Essentially, if you look at them, they function similarly to a Dreadnought, I would suggest. But a Dreadnought's got 8 wounds, a Hellbrute has got 8 wounds, but no 5+ invulnerable save. A Dreadnought has got toughness 7, but this guy's toughness 5, but it's got a 5+ invulnerable save. But unlike a Dreadnought, it shoots, and its gun is 6 shots. And the minimum is strength 7, -1 damage. The maximum is strength 9, -3 damage. And you can deep strike him, and it's got an invulnerable save, and you could put... Look, you didn't even talk about how dirty you can get on this. So 36 shots coming out from a unit of 3 obliterators, yeah?
Yep.
With infernal power around them, re-rolling 1s to hit and re-rolling 1s to wound. Put prescience on them as well with a sorcerer. So they're hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. And you could put veterans of the Long War on them as well.
Yeah, vets is huge on them, I think.
Putting all these things on this obliterator, 115 points on its own does seem a little bit pricey, but when Games Workshop writes the points, they factor in how this unit functions in the codex around it. And how this unit functions in the codex is it's infantry. It can stand on a ruin and get a 1+ save. It can be buffed. It can deep strike. It's got an invulnerable save. It
can go in a Land Raider.
No, it can go in a Land Raider. It's nasty.
Yeah. And the other thing you get from this, obviously, is you get all those power buffs from the Master of Possession. You can do things like Endless Cacophony as a stratagem, because Endless Cacophony affects infantry units, and he's an infantry unit. So I think they're amazingly good. I know there's a lot of people that are... So in the chat, someone said Content to Dreads are much better. Sorcerer Dave said they're far too random, and because they're random, they're a gamble. I mean, we were talking about it last night, and the way Order Operations works means that you pick them to shoot, and you then roll for their random D3s. And of course, you could use a command point to reroll one of those D3s. And if you were that fussy, you could put Mutated Invigoration on as well, and you get 2 rerolls at 3 of the D3s. Should that be your... I mean, you're now ploughing command points, and don't get me wrong, but you've got that option. And then, once you've found out what your weapon is, then you pick your target. And in fact, before that happens, you can find out what your strength is, and you can then drop Vets of the Long War on. So you roll a 5 or a 6, you know, with a strength 9 weapon, and you're going to target that Imperial Knight. You can then choose to put vets on, and you're wounding a knight from an infantry unit on 2s. That's amazingly good.
Yep. So the shooting phase is broken into 4 parts. Choose a unit to shoot with, 1. Choose targets, 2. choose a ranged weapon 3, and then resolve attacks at step 4. So at step 1, when you choose the unit to shoot with, flesh metal guns, when this unit is chosen to shoot in the shooting phase or fires Overwatch, you roll all your random stuff. You get strength 7, AP -1, then you're picking on infantry. You get strength 9, AP -3, then you're picking on vehicles when you choose the target that you shoot at, which is step 2.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really versatile in that regard, aren't they? Hugely.
And they now have a close combat defense, which they didn't really have before. Because before they were strength 5, AP nothing, 1 damage. And now they're strength 6, AP 1, AP -1, and D3 damage. So they're a lot less... You're a lot less likely to want to charge them now, is what I'm saying. I think they're significantly better. I know there's a lot of hate for the current points cost of obliterators, and we were doing some comparisons earlier. So 2 of them are 230 points, and previously 3 was 100 and something, 197 or something like that. I can't remember what it was talked about in the chat previously. And you have the same number of shots essentially as to what we used to have, because there used to be Assault 4. You do end up with 1 less wound, but you end up with toughness 5 instead of toughness 4.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of balances.
Oh, I think so, definitely.
Were they Assault 4 before?
Yeah, they were. So before, the gun was the exact same, apart from it was Assault 4 instead of Assault 6. They've gained 2 shots. They've gained an additional wound per model. They've gained an additional toughness per model. So a squad of 3 is comparable in points to 2. There's about 30 to 40 points in it. So the new one's slightly more expensive by 30 to 40 points. But you end up with 1 less wound, but with the same number of shots, an extra toughness, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But what you do end up with as well is all these extra powers you can buff them with. So I don't think they're that bad. And I'm now definitely looking at trying to add some to the Slaughter.
Yeah, and the models are great.
The models are amazing, yeah.
They're cool.
And the only downside I have is because the best buffs for him, for these guys, I think come from the Masters of Possessed. I can't take Masters of Possessed in a World Eaters detachment. So I've got to have some workarounds there. But
yeah,
I just think Masters of Possessed are now so good, you can't not include them in your army if you're a Chaos Space Marines player.
Yeah, very efficient, aren't they?
Which does hurt World Eaters, guys, because we can't take Psychers, because it specifically says that World Eaters have to have the Mark of Khorne as their Mark of Chaos.
Yeah.
And it also says that Psychers can't have the Mark of Khorne. So you have to take a separate detachment from a different legion, essentially. So yeah, I don't think they're horrific, and what they do is offer some sort of versatility. But when we talk about versatility, we've also got this brand new Demon engine, which is quite impressive in itself.
Yeah. So just to close out, I just wanted to add some thoughts about what you said. So
please do.
When you look at new units in codexes, because obviously everyone looks through lots of codexes, you get your first reaction. Your first reaction is, what can this do? And what can obliterators do is pump out a lot of firepower reliably with a weapon skill of 3 up, with a ballistic skill of 3 up. That's what they can do. Then you look at the points, and the points do seem steep. But then you have to go to step 3, and it's, how will this function in my army? What are the buffs? What are the ways to improve upon it? And so the gun, the toughness, the wounds is good. The points are high, but when you add it to the rest of the army and the things that you can do some considerably dirty things with these. And then it doesn't function on its own. None of these units function on its own. You could have Contemptor Dreadnought. You can have Dreadnoughts in the backfield dackering away, doing your stuff. But these obliterators aren't functioning on their own. There's things in front of them screaming, charging down towards the enemy lines, causing all sorts of havoc. So you can't just look at points in a vacuum. You've got to think about how you're going to build a list around it.
No, of course. And I was looking at it earlier. So if you look at the average for the guns, and we were talking about this last night, and I'm aware that this is averages and they are random, but if you look at the averages, you're averaging strength 8, AP -2, 2 damage. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the way I look at it when I talk about value for money is, if I make the Mark of Slanesh for Endless Cacophony, for example, you're talking 36 shots a turn, right? Now, without Endless Cacophony, with 3 of them, you're still talking 18 shots a turn. And that's for a unit that's 345 points. Now, for Chaos, 290 points, so 55 points cheaper, gets you a Leviathan. Now, for 3, you've got 12 wounds rather than 16, still got 2 up save, toughness 5 rather than toughness 8, but you've got more shots. And with Endless Cacophony, you've got even more shots again, because the Leviathan's rocking, with dual butcher cannons, 16 shots, for example. And now with these, you've got 18 if you've got 3, 36 with Endless Cacophony, with a weapon that's the same strength if it's its average roll, a better AP, and the same damage.
Yeah.
And a couple more things. These are infantry, so you get that cover bonus. These things can deep strike in. A Leviathan can't do that. And a Leviathan degrades, and obliterators don't. And the other thing you can do with the Leviathans is charge them. My 30 bugs, Hormagaunts, would love to scrabble over the carcass of a Leviathan, and what can he do? But obliterators can punch back.
Yeah. There's a comment in the chat which is also very important to note. Obviously, we're talking about how dirty good these can be, which is kind of from a competitive standpoint. And someone has said in the chat, when looking at new units, it also matters if you're approaching it from a competitive standpoint or from a casual gameplay perspective. That's clearly important. You don't have to buff these to as dirty as they can be. You don't have to make the Mark of Slaanesh and use Endless Cacophony and Master of Possess them to up to an absolute tank of a unit.
You don't have to, and you can still, because they can deep strike and stuff, you can still use them for utility during a game as well, and clearing off objectives and stuff. They're still going to have enough firepower without being buffed to the high heavens to do that in a lot of instances and win your points and stuff to win games.
Yeah, and Toby said in the chat, assuming you don't want to run them as Slaanesh because you're playing Chaos Undivided, you don't have Endless Cacophony to rely on. I still think they're good without it. I just think that makes them exceptionally good and very, 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 very strong. Endless Cacophony per model, you're talking 12 minimum strength 7 AP -1 1 damage shots minimum.
Yeah. So that's one way to pump out the firepower to make them as damagey as possible. Another way to make them as resilient as possible is to give them Mark of Tzeentch.
Yeah.
And so they've got a 4-up invulnerable save, and then when you have the Cursed Earth spell going off around them, then they'll have a 3-up invulnerable save.
No. See, Mark of Tzeentch in the Chaos Codex nowadays doesn't automatically give you +1 invulnerable save.
Doesn't it?
No, that was an old thing. It does in the Chaos Demons Codex, but not in the Space Marine book. The Mark of Khorne, Slaanesh, Tzeentch, and Nurgle in the Chaos Space Marine book doesn't give you any bonuses at all, apart from stratagems, warlord traits, psychic powers, and stuff like that. You don't get any bonus from it otherwise now, and certain banners and stuff that you can take.
Yeah.
Why can't we have all the toys?
Why can't I have all the toys? I know, mate. Yeah. And that's the whinge we're getting from everyone in YouTube comments as well. So they're amazing. I think a Blitz are really, really good. We'll see. And if they are overcosted, if we do think they're overcosted, what GW have shown so far in 8th edition is that when the next chapter approved drops, they'll drop in points. So if they are that bad, then don't worry about it, because they'll come down in points anyway.
Nah, you can see loads of them.
I also think that certain units stack very well. If you bring a Storm Talon along with las cannons, you can shoot it down pretty quickly. But 3 Storm Talons stack pretty well. A unit of Gene Stealers, you can blow them off the table. 50 Gene Stealers, you're struggling. Some units stack very well.
Yeah.
I think 6 Obliterators I know it's 690 points, but with all the shenanigans that you can throw out on them, that's a lot of shots. 6 Obliterators is 36 shots without Endless Cacophony.
Mikey P and I have also discovered today that it is possible to fill 3 troops choices in a battalion with Chaos Space Marines for less than 100 points.
Yep.
Yeah. So we were looking today. He bought the Blackstone Fortress data sheets with us, and you can take in a Chaos Space Marine book. I've got it in front of me now. Hey, you can take a two units of Traitor Guardsmen in a Chaos Space Marine army, because they've got the Chaos keyword, for 35 points each, so that's 70
for the unit.
And you can take a unit of Chaos Beastmen, which is 24 points for 4 models, which means you're talking 94 points for 3 troops choices for a battalion of Chaos. The only downside is you are using the Chaos keyword to make your detachment.
Yeah, and they suck.
Yeah, and they suck because they're terrible. But there is
lots of free kills for your opponent. But 5 command points for 100, 200, say.
Yeah. It depends. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. Lots of tournaments do say that you can't organise by Mark of Chaos alone. Same as you can't use just Imperium. Some do, not all. But yeah,
that's pretty cheesy, though, isn't it?
That's very cheesy, isn't it? 3 Chaos Space Marine troop choices for less than 100 points. Shitting.
Yeah.
Then with 2 Masters of Possession and all the Obliterators.
Yeah.
But then
you would not be popular.
No. Then we move on to the next unit, which again has got a lot of hate, and I think it's really good. And that's the Venom Crawler.
I just like the model. I think it's fantastic. It's cool.
130 points for something that isn't a Mauler Fiend or isn't a Forge Fiend, but can do what both of those can do. It can't punch as good as a Mauler Fiend with Lash of Tendrils, but it can still punch pretty well. It can't shoot as good as a Forge Fiend, but it can still shoot very well. And remember, you're going to be near the bubble. The reroll hit roll of 1, reroll wound roll of 1, bubble.
And if it does both of those things in one turn, it's better than either of the other two.
Yeah. I said in my video yesterday that the way I'd do them is get a couple of them and just run them forward and use them as distraction carnifexes. I completely changed my mind. I would leave them at the back with your Master of Possession and use them as Daka, throwing out their Excruciator cannons, which is that would be 2d3 shots at strength 8, -2, d3 damage a time, rerolling hit rolls of 1, rerolling wound rolls of 1, a couple of them in the backfield. And if a unit of 5 Terminators drops in the backfield to try and deal with them, you can eat those Terminators for lunch.
Totally can, yeah.
Yeah, they're good. They're not. But I think what you hit the nail on the head there is their versatility when you compare them to Mauler Fiends and Forge Fiends, because they can do both. I mean, they don't do one as well as one of them.
Yeah.
But they're not far off. They're pretty close.
I think it's probably one of those things, is if you're using them for one or the other, for combat or for shooting, they're probably not going to be as efficient as the other two. But you've got the ability to do either, so you've got versatility and utility there, haven't you?
I've just seen a comment in Twitch from Andy H. He says, "Why is Bane sitting behind Winters?" It was either Bane or Darth Vader, one of the two. Yeah, I'm glad you guys can hear that too. Anyway, what another comment that's been in there is, it has stated as well, don't forget that the next Vigilus book is going to be Chaos heavy, so there could well be some interesting attachments to use. I would almost guarantee there'll be Chaos Formations attachments in that book as well.
Yeah, totally.
And I'd imagine there'll be something quite heavily around the Black Legion as well, and Abaddon and what have you.
Yeah. Guaranteed.
Yeah, Vigilus Part 2 is going to have Abaddon in it, isn't it? That's where he's coming back, and hopefully his rules are going to get pimped. But Venom Crawlers, 130 points. That's a Hellbrute.
Is it? Yes.
Something like that. 130 points is Dreadnought money, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's Dreadnought money for 10 wounds with a 5-up invulnerable save.
I mean, for me personally, with the exception of not getting a Legion trait, which isn't that much of a problem for Chaos anyway, Venom Crawlers just piss all over Hellbrutes. They're so much better than Hellbrutes are.
Yep.
I mean, Hellbrutes, I think, hit on 3s instead of 4s, or are they 4s as well? I don't remember. And then you've got the ability to gain a Legion trait. So if you're running Alpha Legion, I suppose that matters. If you're not, then meh. But
all demon engines are ballistic and web skill 4.
Most demon, pretty much all demon engines are ballistic skill 4+. I don't know why I'm saying I think Hellbrutes are hitting on. So Hellbrutes are ballistic skill 3 and weapon skill 3+. That's what they have over these.
Okay.
But they're just otherwise. I just don't think they're that great, to be honest.
Okay.
And the thing is, Hellbrutes are rocking normally heavy weapons as well, so if they move, they're hitting on 4s anyway. Whereas this guy's weapons is an assault weapon. His ballistic skill stays at 4, and if he degrades, this is the same as Mauler Fiends as well. If this guy degrades, his weapon skill and ballistic skill stay the same.
Yeah.
I mean, his weapons get weaker because they're all based on his strength, but his weapon skill and ballistic skill stay the same, and his weapons are base strength 8 until you stick a greater possess nearby.
Yeah.
Strength 9.
Yeah. It goes down to 6, yeah?
So his weakest strength is 4 plus 2, which is 6. So if you have the greater possession nearby, which you won't because he'll be too busy up the field ripping Primaris Marines apart, it becomes strength 7.
No, I just think they're cool. They're cool models.
His guns are going to be strength 8, strength 7, strength 6, and he's going to be one great deep strike denial type unit, or one unit in the backfield that you're not going to want to get close to. See, a Hellbrute doesn't degrade. This guy does degrade. But this guy has a 5-up invulnerable save. Hellbrutes don't have a 5-up invulnerable save. This guy is a demon, so you can give him a 4-up invulnerable save. Hellbrutes are not demons. You can't increase their invulnerable save because they don't have one and they don't have so the same money as a Hellbrute. But he should have a 4-up invulnerable save through most of the game, and it's the same money. It's the same money. It's going to be harder to kill.
Well, this is I'm just quickly checking. Right, yeah, okay, interesting. So this is one of those where you probably would look at giving it something like Mark of Tzeentch, because Weaver of Fates has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select a visible Tzeentch Heretic Astartes unit with an 8 inch of the Psyker until the start of your next psychic phase. You can add 1 to invulnerable saves. So Cursed Earth and Weaver of Fates on a Venom Crawler, and it's got a 3+ invulnerable save.
Yep.
And that's a psychic power, yeah?
Weaver of Fates is a psychic power from the Tzeentch tree. So if you've got your Master of Possession and you've got a normal Chaos Sorcerer with Mark of Tzeentch, he can take Weaver of Fates.
Yep.
And again, what's the key word there for the Weaver of Fates?
Weaver of Fates has just got to be a Tzeentch Heretic Astartes unit. So you give its Mark of Chaos Tzeentch.
Yeah.
Even if its Legion is Black Legion, you give its Mark of Chaos Tzeentch, drop Weaver of Fates on it, give it. So you've got a Sorcerer just to buff this guy, give it Weaver of Fates and Prescience. He then hits on 3s with that gun, and he's got a 3+ invulnerable save if Cursed Earth is off as well. I mean, I know we're talking about lots of combinations, but that's kind of the point of this, is just to talk about the combos that you could come up with should you decide to have a go at and put in some dirty combos together.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the marine stuff is a lot more straightforward, isn't it? But chaos is a lot more combo-y and it's a lot more situational.
I do honestly think, though, looking at venom crawlers, I love the Mauler Fiends for the slaughter, I do, but I instantly see these replacing them, genuinely, straight away. I just think they're better all round. And what do I really lack?
They're not very corny, though, are they?
What do you mean?
Compared with the Mauler Fiends, they're much more corny.
Oh, the Mauler Fiends are much more corny, but these are just better. This is the thing. For basically the same points. In fact, I think they even might be cheaper than Mauler Fiends. They're just better than Mauler Fiends. What does my list suffer from? I've got zero real range firepower at all. The amount of times my first turn is move, pop smoke, your turn, and that's it. And now I potentially could. So say I replaced all 3 Mauler Fiends with 3 Venom Crawlers. Suddenly, I've got, 6 D3, potentially strength 8, AP -2, D3 damage shots.
And it's 36-inch range, right?
Yeah, 36-inch range. And it's assault, so I can move it 10 inches with the rest of my army. It can still move like the Mauler Fiends with the rest of my army and still kick out that same level of firepower, which currently I just don't have. The only way I can do it at the moment is by bringing Hell Drakes, or the Hell Drake that I own, or by bringing that Knight, which I like the Knight, but it's a bit dull. Whoever plays Knights is just dull, aren't they, Winters?
Completely agree. And I know, Mikey P, you say that it's not very corny. Well, narratively speaking, the Eternal Slaughter are bound with ties of blood and skulls to the Black Legion, which is why they're painted black. Yeah. So he can feel them as Black Legion because they belong to the Black Legion. We've seen the first story of the Eternal Slaughter rampaging off and doing their things all around the galaxy. But the core of the Eternal Slaughter is fighting for Abaddon right now, which is why their armor's painted black.
Yeah,
so feel them as Black Legion. It makes perfect narrative sense. That's why they're painted that way. You've got Venom Crawlers for the same cost of Hellbrutes, which can do everything that Hellbrute can do, but better.
Sounds good to me.
I would like to say it was just as planned. That wasn't the plan.
Bullshit.
It just so happens that Abaddon has dropped and he's fucking glorious.
It's just worked out well for you.
Now I'm going to suggest that the War Master has appeared from the Eye of Terror and said, "You're fighting for me again." And then the Eternal Slaughter are going to go, "Yeah, cool," because that's what happens, right? There's been a question in Discord. Do you get Demon Forge with a Venom Crawler? Not in Discord, sorry, in Twitch. Yeah, you do, because it's got the Demon Engine keyword, so you can use Demon Forge with a Venom Crawler as well, which just makes it even better. They're just so good. Anyway, we're about just over halfway point through the podcast. This is the normal part that you guys all are already aware of, where we now go and make fresh tea. So we're going to hit you on the pause screen and the be right back screen, and I don't think Winters is going away just yet, but we're going to make more tea, and then we'll be back in 5-10 minutes, if that. Probably about 5 minutes. So feel free to chat amongst yourselves. If you've got questions for us when we come back, make sure you chuck them in the Twitch stream, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about this new stuff. And the plan for us and the Eternal Slaughter going forward, because I wrote a rudimentary list today because Winters told me to.
Very rudimentary.
He said to me last night, write a list and then put it on YouTube saying, new Black Legion Shadowspear list building, and you'll get loads of views. And then that's when he popped up 15 minutes before, and I went, I want to come and join you tonight. So, we'll make tea, and then we'll talk about this list very, very shortly. We will be right back.
It up to the correct color with the milk, and suddenly you realize that you brewed it for too long, so it's too TE. If you put your milk in first, the correct amount of milk in the bottom, and then you brew it up to the correct color, then it's exactly the same taste of tea every single time. There are 2 types of people in the world: people who follow the emperor and believe in righteousness and goodness, and people who put the milk in second.
We were becoming really close. I obviously thank a very, very big thank you to Sorcerer Dave, who very quickly told me in the chat that I still have the audio muted. That was key, because anyway, what I did was I asked Winters whether he puts milk in first or second, and he puts it in first. No, that's wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Same as you're wrong that this Emperor of Mankind is going to be the saviour of everybody. It's wrong. Okay, Winters, another question. Scones or scones?
No, not this one again.
Scones. Jam on first or cream on first?
Fucking hell.
It's cream. It's always cream.
You're so wrong on both. Tomorrow's game. No,
You
shut
go to
up.
Cornwall,
Shut up.
have Cornish
Shut up.
cream teas
Shut
in
up.
Cornwall served to you.
Shut up.
The home, the fame. Okay, sorry.
Tomorrow's become a grudge match.
Oh.
Because you're wrong on both. It's jam on first because you can't spread jam on top of cream. That's stupid. And it's milk in after. Always.
You see, you're talking like you're someone with taste and culture, but I also know that you're someone who shaved your beard.
Yeah, don't forget I've also seen what's underneath your hat.
Yeah, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, so exactly, I'm right. That went horrendously wrong. I was expecting Winters to be on my team for that one, especially the milk. Does that mean every time I come to yours and you make tea, you put the milk in first?
Yes, of course.
Tomorrow
Which is why my tea is superior to your tea.
It's not, is it? Let's be honest. Your tea's like weak builder's pee.
What?
Tomorrow I'll be drinking juice.
I'm pretty sure that some people here are here about Warhammer.
Maybe. Only some are here to talk Warhammer.
But tea is important. Tea is love. Tea is life. Just like the Emperor. People who follow the Emperor
when made
first.
correctly. I'm going to send you a link to a YouTube video from a guy called what's his name?
Yeah.
My Property.
Yes. So you know.
Yes,
Anyway.
of course I know.
Anyway, we're not gonna worry about this.
Shall we move it along?
Winters probably puts the water in first when he makes squash. Is that
What?
true? Do you put the water in first or the squash in first?
I haven't had squash for a decade at least. I don't drink squash now.
So the last time you were about 50.
I'm a grown-ass man.
Are you playing with toy soldiers?
Yes.
Anyway, let's get back to talking about the Shadowspear release. And
Please, for the
what
love of God.
Thought it might be interesting, and everyone in Twitch will probably tell me it's not, is how I think this is going to affect my list for the Eternal Slaughter. Because I have... I warn everyone now, it does kind of mean Chaos Soup to a degree.
I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that you would say that.
But that's only because the only way to run Berserkers as troops choices is to have them in a World Eaters detachment. Now, a World Eaters detachment requires everything in that detachment to have the Khorne keyword, should it be able to take a keyword. A Master of Possession cannot take the Khorne keyword because he's a Psyker. I covered this earlier. So what I'm looking at doing is running a battalion of the Eternal Slaughter World Eaters and then a spearhead, heavy support, of Black Legion. I'm starting to bleed this Black Legion feel into the Eternal Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it makes sense. Clearly, if I didn't want the Master of Possession, I could just run it as standard World Eaters like I normally do. So in games where I might decide that it go back to being pure World Eaters, I can ditch the Master of Possession and just stick the heavy support choices in with another Chaos character, and it can be still World Eaters as a complete detachment. Because there are some events out there like Enter the Hellstorm 2, whereby you're only allowed to organise your army by one specific Legion keyword or one craft world, etc. So Mikey's basically put pay to the fact that you can't run a Ulthway battalion and an Alatok flyer wing. You can't do it. You have to have all Ulthway or all Alatok, which I think's good, to be honest, for events.
Well, at the very least, it makes people think a bit.
Yeah, but what I'm not doing is I'm not including like guard battalions and then Imperial Knights and stuff. It's not that kind of soup. So it's not the worst soup in the world. It's just a different Legion keyword.
Yeah, so
and
I think
actually, the bonus... Go on.
No. So I think currently you're thinking about mixing two different detachments, right? So you can get the best out of it. But there's two things here. One is if you went to a tournament, you'd probably play Alpha Legion anyway, if it was a single thing. And two, I think when the Black Legion Codex drops, I think the Black Legion trait is going to change.
You reckon?
I think so. It's not very good right now.
What is it?
I've got all the traits in front of me.
What's the Black Legion trait? I don't even know.
The Black Legion trait. Add 1 to the leadership characteristic of models and units with this trait. In addition, if a unit with this trait advanced, it treats rapid-fire weapons as assault weapons until the end of the turn. Yeah. For example, a rapid-fire 2 weapon is instead treated as assault 2. It's pretty pants.
Gosh.
It's not the best, is it? And the thing is, people will scream cheese at me for running, as they are already in the Twitch chat, for running 2 different legions, but actually... The Black Legion detachment I'm taking, I'm gaining 0 benefit from the Legion trait at all. Nothing at all.
Quick interjection question here from Jack B. Says, question for more Hammerly and Winters and Mikey P. Buy Shadowspear or wait for the multi-part kits?
I don't know if we'll see the multi-part kits soon.
Depends on how quickly you want to play with them.
I've got an answer to that. If you play Chaos, get Shadowspear, because all the units in here for Chaos are good. If you play Space Marines, wait.
Literally, the only stuff that's not that great in Shadowspear is the Chaos Space Marines, because they are monoposed rather than multi-part plastic. But to be fair, within the squad of 10, it's very easy to build a squad of 5 if you want them as a minimum troops choice that have 3 bolt guns, an autocannon, and a sergeant in it, which then is reasonable, and you don't end up with a silly option where you've got half of them with chainsaws and bolt pistols and half of them with bolt guns.
Plus, if you wait for the Chaos multi-part kits, Codex creep will have made them obsolete by the time the multi-parts come out anyway.
Yeah, that thing that everyone screams about, which is kind of an issue, but not that much of a problem.
Yeah.
So
But the Chaos Space Marines, just from a narrative and from a modelling point of view, the Chaos Space Marine kits in here are glorious.
Yes,
yeah, they look great.
Agree. I'm definitely going to have them painted up because.
And are they sort of similar in style and size and all the rest of it to the Blackstone Fortress ones? Do you know, they the same sort of scale? Yeah, because they're. Yes. I mean, okay, it's the same marine with different heads, but they're great models as well.
Yeah, and they're basically, dare I use the words for fear of triggering many people, they're basically true scale Marines, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be amazing. So what I've done.
Why? Hold your horses.
I'm holding.
Pull back on that beard. Hold him down, Mikey.
I'm twiddling my moustache.
Thank you. So why do Chaos Space Marine players get awesome new sculpts that are larger, true-scale Chaos Space Marines without having to squeeze in a terrible narrative about some tech dude making a new Primaris thingy-bob for 10,000 years? Why couldn't have we just got Primaris Space Marines without them changing the narrative? They're clearly going to sell these things. The modelers look great. People are going to buy them. They look lovely. They could have done the same for Space Marines without putting in that wobbly, horrible narrative. Rant over.
Well, see, this is the one thing after the tea and scones debate where the pair of us definitely agree on. And that's not common for you and I to agree like this, but the people in Twitch, the fans of the channel, will know that for almost most sit and talks where we've ever covered anything remotely Primaris, I hate the fact that Primaris even exist. I would have accepted Mark 10 armor as just a new Space Marine kit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would have as well, and some people would have been pissed off.
They could have still been intercessors with the Mark 10 armor. It just didn't need to be
this
some
Primaris
janky, shitty update.
And I'll be honest with you, I know Primaris are currently more popular than normal Space Marines, but there's some real rules-based ball drops here. You still can't transport them anywhere unless you take the Repulsive, and that's not a cheap vehicle in itself.
See what you did there.
This is the thing, right? Winters, you might agree. With this latest codex that's dropped out, with the Vanguard mini decks, for me there was 2 main things I thought they could do with it. So they've given Reavers the Phobos keyword. They had an opportunity to drop that unit's data slate in this codex, supersede the current codex, and improve Reavers, because they're currently shit and they don't sell any. What they also could have done is given them a cheaper, like a Rhino-type transport. Something cheap, doesn't kick out much firepower, just used to chuck guys around the field. Those 2 things alone would have been worth the box set.
Yeah. How about Primaris drop pods that actually do something, unlike Space Marine drop pods? Drop pods that could drop 3 inches away and then you disembark. You can't charge, but you can shoot. Say 5-man mini drop pods for Primaris Marines.
That would be
Assault
cool.
Primaris Marines. Reavers with combat blades, which are AP -1. There's so many things they could have done, but they didn't do. And of course, I agree with you, Liam. I agree with you about everything apart from putting the milk in first.
Yeah, okay.
In summary, why, G-dubs, why?
Yeah, basically, that was a bit of an odd choice for me. I honestly think they've nailed the chaos. The one point of contention for most people is the points of a blitz, and I'm sure we'll see in time whether they are incorrectly or correctly pointed. Don't forget, we get 2 big FAQs every year, and they change the points. If the points is trash, they'll change them. What we haven't seen is the detachments from the second Vigilist book. We haven't seen what happens when Abaddon drops. My honest opinion, and Winters, you might have an opinion on this yourself. My honest opinion is we'll see a Black Legion Codex.
Yeah, I think so.
And that might change everything, even for things like a Blitz, for Masters of Possession. I'm super excited.
I think they will. I mean, it seems to be that this mini decks and the Vigilus books is where they're going to release Black Legion. Aren't they going to do Emperor's Children and World Eaters first?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised in the distant future. I wouldn't be surprised for all the Legions and maybe even the Marine chapters to have their own books, like Spaceballs, Blood Angels, and Dark Angels have got now. You may see them break out Black Templars in the and I'm not talking in the next 12 months. I'm talking like, because it's just a way of producing more books and selling more books and more models, right?
I think those sort of successor chapters and the sort of maybe more lesser known Chaos Warbands and stuff, I think it makes sense for them to do them in chapter approved and White Dwarfs. It's a lot of nice content to release in White Dwarfs, those things. You know. So I don't know. I think Black Legion is going to be in these Vigilus books, and I think they're going to release Emperor's Children and World Eaters, and then that'll complete the sort of pantheon.
Yeah, maybe
for Chaos.
Maybe
that seems quite a neat thing. I think anyway.
Maybe.
I think they primarily want to sell more models, and through a Black Legion Codex, they will sell more models. So I think Black Legion, what we can see in a Black Legion Codex is we've got a Master of Possession, he's a new character. You'll see a couple of new characters. We've got Obliterators in here, and then you're going to get those Mutilators. They'll be coming. Because if they've changed the Obliterators, they're going to change Mutilators as well.
But there's
going to be quite a few new sculpts coming.
The thing is with Mutilators, there's one thing Mutilators need to fix them and make them usable, and that's the speed in which they move or the ability in which they've got to move. Because currently, you deep strike them in, and if you fail the charge of a Mutilator, you have a 4-inch move. You ain't catching shit with a 4-inch move, are you? You're just not. It's the same, and that's, that's one of their biggest failings. If they can fix that 4-inch move, then Mutilators will be usable. I reckon you'll see a definite rules change for them. You're right, mate. You've seen it on Obliterators already. Isn't there a stratagem or a warlord trait or a psychic power? No, it's not a stratagem. A warlord trait or a psychic power that mentions. It says Cult of Destruction. If it meant just Obliterators.
Mutated Invigoration. You can re-roll one of the dice when rolling for the strength, AP, and damage characteristics of the Cult of Destruction weapons, due to its flesh metal guns or flesh metal weapons ability. Yes. That's Mutilators.
So we're going to get better Mutilators, which will be cool if they fix the movement. If they don't fix the movement, you'll still see no one take them. Now, I also think that because Black Legion currently, when we include 1, the Abaddon model and rules, 2, the chosen abilities, and 3, the Legion trait is pants. And that's why I think you may see you're right. Maybe it'll be a White Dwarf release. Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a Vigilus. Sorcerer Dave in the chat here has said, I don't think you'll see a Black Legion Codex. More likely a Chaos Space Marines Codex version 2. And I think the GW has said that they're going to go back and redo some of those early 8th edition codexes. So if they were to do that, that would make sense. I think if it was a Black Legion orientated CSM codex.
I mean, it would make sense, especially if they were to do, because I would imagine we are definitely going to see that with Marines as well.
Yeah,
I'd be very surprised if you didn't see Marines get a new codex.
Well, we're going to get a sort of third Primaris faction, the Gravis wing.
Oh, great, more
Primaris. Yeah.
Yawn.
Well, they're not going to go back to standard mini Marines, are they? Never going to get any more releases for mini Marines. That's it.
Yawn.
So what's definitely coming this year? We can all agree that this year we are going to see a new Chaos Space Marine Codex of some description, be it Black Legion, World Eaters. There's going to be something for Chaos fans this year. I think we're pretty much guaranteed a Space Marine Codex this year, and we're going to get the Sisters of Battle this year. And I would put my money, I would bet my mortgage on a Ynnari Codex probably towards the end of the year as well.
Yeah.
I think those are the 4 ones, because they've tickled us a little bit with the bolt gun rounds, but these things are coming.
I'm an Eldar player, and out of those, the one we definitely don't need is a Ynnari Codex.
Well, you say that, but that gives the opportunity to actually properly fix Ynnari, because at the moment their key mechanic is basically unfair. When they get in a game with limited interactions, they get more interactions than any other faction.
Yeah, and you can see they haven't got a codex, and how well do they still perform at big events?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Ynnari that might be something that would come in a campaign book or something of that kind as well. I don't know if you get a whole codex. But then, having said that, you get a whole Harlequins Codex.
There's a few questions.
Pretty
in the
skinny volume, isn't it?
There's a few questions in the chat when it asks whether we think we'll see a pure Primaris Codex.
I don't think they will do that because they will want. They're in the model selling business. They want to sell as many models as possible. There's a lot of people coming into 8th edition for the first time. And why would you do a Primaris only codex when you could sell new people Predators and Vindicators and Land Raiders? They might not get the baby Marines, old school Marines, but they might still very much want Terminators or vehicles. So Space Marine Dex has always been their Bible, has always been their big library of knowledge for all things in power armor. And I think we're going to see another Space Marine Codex this year. And I think this Shadowspear box is tickling us, is teasing us with some of the options we're going to get in there. There's going to be suppressors with different guns. There's going to be a few more characters, things like that.
The thing you've got to remember as well with Marines that people seem to forget is that Space Marines are, one, the poster boys for them, and two, they're the gateway drug. Because they're relatively easy to play with because their rules are simplish. They're relatively easy to paint because they're power armored Marines, and they're big, cool, hulking, good guy Space Marines. They're the gateway drug for people.
Yeah.
So they're going to want to keep them as the gateway drug. I'm sorry, Proudbeard, who said Liam's making me feel guilty about painting Inceptors. You go for it, mate. There's nothing wrong with Primaris. It's just not my 40k. I'm not a fan of them. But you crack on. There's nothing wrong with them as such. And the narrative has got stronger around them. I just would rather they were just new Marine sculpts rather than Primaris. But hey,
I don't think we're ever going to see a Primaris Codex because there's no need to, there's no reason to. It's just Space Marines, and over time they'll phase out mini Marines. Maybe not this year or next year, but in time they will. I would imagine, and there'll be just like legacy rules for them or something.
I disagree. I don't think they'll ever phase them out. I just don't think they'll expand on that range anymore. They'll just continue to expand all the Primaris stuff, and those other Marines and their other vehicles will be in there. They're not in the business of making models that you have obsolete. So they won't do that. They did that in Sigmar, and they lost a lot of players. So they're not going to do it again.
No, they certainly won't do hit the reset button in the same fashion as they did there.
But we're not gonna see new models for the old school Marines. We're just going to see new models for the new stuff. I think most people wish that they just hadn't changed the narrative, that they didn't need the Primaris narrative to sell new models. However, having said that the narrative is very bad, I do think the narrative will improve. It can only improve once Black Library writers get their teeth into it. In 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, once all the different crusades start slotting together, and once they do another type of series of books but set in the 42nd millennium, the Primaris thing is going to start to gel a lot better. At the moment it doesn't. At the moment it feels like a stick in the spokes of your bicycle.
Well, the whole Primaris thing is clearly a business orientated move.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I mean, Simon said in the chat, I love Primaris models. That's the thing. Exactly what Winters has just said. Yeah. The models are mostly glorious.
Oh, yeah.
There's only 3 sets of sculpts I don't like. And that, for a whole range of Primaris, and I'm including the Phobos stuff, that for a whole range isn't that bad. It's the narrative. And you're right, mate. When the Aaron Dembski-Bodens and your Dan Abnetts and stuff like that get hold of the Primaris narrative and start writing their books, including Primaris Marines, it will get stronger and it will be more appealing. The only things I think they've dropped the ball of is the 2 Inceptor-type kits. So the Inceptor and the Suppressors I just think look stupid with their derpy legs and stupid foot plates.
Quick question. Sorry to stop you mid-flow.
You go for it, mate. You go.
Do you like the look of the Assault jump packs? The old jump packs?
The old jump packs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you?
I
think they look rubbish.
I think that's just because it's sort of nostalgia.
It's just kind of like wallpaper, isn't it? It's like the furniture. It's always been a part of it. So you just
I think it's because it's nostalgia.
Actually,
old jump packs.
Yeah, if you just look at the jump packs on standard Assault Marines, it just looks stupid.
Well,
but I think it's just one of those things. You just get used to it.
Thanks,
no
Angus.
one brings Assault Space Marines now, and I prefer the Horus Heresy jump packs. They look really cool.
Yeah,
there's the single-engined ones, right?
There's different versions of the dual engine ones and the single engine ones. Both of them look cool.
Yeah, okay. Definitely.
So yeah, I mean it's interesting. The Primaris stuff is interesting. I just think that the narrative's a bit poo.
Yeah, I think things have got to move forward. They just kind of did the narrative the wrong way.
But more importantly, we talk about my list now?
Yeah, go on then.
Do you care to hear it, Winters, or you're not bothered?
I'd love to hear it. I want to see what you came up with after we had a good thrash around last night.
This is a work in progress. This was literally put together whilst Mikey P was sat here before you then threw me that curveball that you were going to come and join us on the chat.
Sorry.
So I've got a battalion and a spearhead, or a battalion, a spearhead, and an auxiliary.
Ooh.
Interesting, eh?
Okay.
And the auxiliary only exists purely because currently I'm listening to the audiobook of Black Legion written by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. That's the only reason why the auxiliary exists. And those of you that know that book will understand what I'm talking about when you hear what the auxiliary is. So, first of all, we've got battalion. This is Standard Eternal Slaughter. There's one change to this battalion from Standard Eternal Slaughter. So it's headed up by Khan, because he's a boss. There's an Exalted Champion in there, because I like reroll to wounds as well. And then we've got 3 squads of 8 Berserkers, because 8. 2 of them got banners, all 3 got power fists, normal Khorne Berserker loadouts. One of them hasn't got a banner because points, basically. That's the only reason. Then we've got 3 rhinos, and then we've got a Greater Possessed in there as well, because at the end of putting the list together, I had 60 points, so I dropped a banner off one of the squad of Berserkers so I could get 70 points so I could put a Greater Possessed in, because they can jump in a rhino with Berserkers, because they can, and then get out and go wreck face on their own somewhere else as well, which is really, really cool.
Do they take up 2 slots?
Do they take up 2 slots? No, they don't.
Oh, right.
There's nothing to say. They take up 2 slots. They just take up a normal single seat in a rhino.
I think they probably
Liam,
should.
Yes.
how many points is this list? 1750 or 2000?
1750.
1750. I do like the idea of Greater Possess. If you use them as the Chaos version of as an Ephoreza assassin, they're going to jump out of that rhino and go slaughtering.
Well, importantly as well, you put them in a World Eaters detachment, they get the Khorne keyword, and because they're World Eaters, they get +1 attack on the charge as well. So
6 attacks hitting on 2s.
Yeah, good, right? And strength 6 base because of their buff, which is really cool.
Tasty.
So they're quite lethal on their own. Then you've got 3 rhinos, obviously, because you can put 3 squads of 8 Berserkers in each rhino, and then one can have Khan, one can have the Exalted Champion, and one can have a Greater Possessed in. 9 models in each rhino. There's your battalion, done. Then we've got the Spearhead. And the Spearhead is led as a single HQ choice, Master of Possession, obviously. And this is the reason why the Spearhead is Black Legion rather than World Eaters, solely because he is a Master of Possessed and therefore a Psyker, and he can't be a World Eater. We've then got 3 a Blitz, obviously. Probably Mark of Sinesh, because Endless Cacophony's a thing. The second heavy support choice is a single Obliterator, because you get 4 in 2 boxes of
Well, yeah.
of Shadowspear, and they're just cool. And I actually like the idea of a single deep striking Obliterator. So the single one will stay in Deep Strike Reserve, and he'll drop on an objective or something. I just really like that idea. The third HQ choice is a Venom for a Venom Crawler for 130 points, and then there's either a 4th HQ choice or there's an Auxiliary Detachment choice for -1 command point. So the 4th HQ choice is a 2nd Venom. So basically the idea is your Master of Possession, 3 Obliterators and 2 Venoms work as their own castle that are tough, lots of firepower, quite nasty, decent powers to buff them, and then your Berserkers are rushing forward in rhinos like we always see, but I just think I'll get more mileage out of the Venoms and the Obliterators than I will out of the Mauler Fiends currently. I just think I'll get more.
Yeah.
Then the last one, like I say, is a 4th Venom. If I don't want that 4th Venom and I'm happy with -1 command point, this is where it starts to really soup. Because I've got 3 Oblits, 1 Oblit and a Venom, that's still a Spearhead. Then I take an Auxiliary Detachment, single HQ choice, 1,000 Suns, Exalted Sorcerer. Because Black Legion, the book, is a thing. And he then gets access to things like Warp Time, Prescience. He's an Exalted Sorcerer with a 5-up Invulnerable save as well, so he benefits from... Oh, he won't benefit from Cursed Earth unless he's on a disc. But still, he's a decent unit. He can do things like Warp Time, the 3 Obliterators. They suddenly have an 8-inch move each turn. And his Warp Time is a 9-inch range because he's in a single detachment on his own. He still gets the +6 inches to all of his psychic powers. And that's why he's a 1,000 Suns one, because that's more important. And Prescience, etc.
I would drop the Greater Possessed.
Right.
Bring a 4th HQ that way, so a sorcerer.
Right.
And with your extra points, just get cultists. So you've got 4 HQs, your 3 rhinos busting forward, and cultists that are surrounding the Obliterators and Venom Crawlers in the backfield, and you've got dual battalion.
Yeah, how much is a sorcerer? I think a sorcerer's
cheap,
like...
normal sorcerer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in there now, mate. You wait one. Mikey P, talk, dance.
Yeah.
Look pretty.
And all that.
So I think you want some screen in front of the Obliterators and the Venom Crawler. You want, just in case there's something really nasty coming back at you. Now, most things probably won't want to assault that castle back there because they can hurt you. But in that, there are some things that would want to, such as gene stealers or orcs. Tyranids or orcs won't worry about the volume of fire coming out of there or the punchy punch. They'll just try and shut it down from shooting.
Yeah.
So you need that screen in front. Dual Battalion gives you extra command points to play Endless Cacophony and other things again and again and again.
Yeah.
And 2 Sorcerers gives you Prescience.
Yeah.
So you can Prescience the Obliterators on the turn they deep strike in, hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s to hit, re-rolling 1s to wound, and you've got enough command points to put put Veterans of the Long War on them as well.
Yeah.
So a sorcerer on Battlescribe, because I haven't got the time to check the FAQ online at the moment, a sorcerer, bog standard, from the Chaos Space Marine book, is 98 points, so he's the same cost as a Master of Possession. So I could take one. He can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers, so he's basically as good as an Exalted Sorcerer, apart from his weapon skill, ballistic skills, 3 instead of 2s, not a massive issue for a sorcerer with a bolt pistol. He doesn't get to reroll 1s for Thousand Suns model, not a massive issue if you've got a single Thousand Sun in your list. And he doesn't have a 5+ invulnerable save. Sorcerers in the Chaos Space Marine book don't have an invulnerable save at all, but he's a character. So do we care about that much? Probably not.
You're not intending to run him up and get him into combat anyway, are you? Really?
No, well, not really. No, he's there for buffing stuff. He's there for he's basically there for presence and warp time.
If he ends up in combat, then it's probably because something's gone horribly wrong anyway.
What's interesting? So Toby's just said, can you warp time a non-Thousand Suns unit with a Thousand Suns Spiker? That doesn't seem right. Yeah, you can, because warp time specifically says you pick a Heretic Astartes unit within 3 inches, and then you get to move them again. Now, interestingly, if we do what you said, Winters, which I'm thinking about already, if I take that normal sorcerer instead of a Exalted Sorcerer, what I could do then is I could make it Mark of Slaanesh. Now, since my 3 Obliterators are already Slaanesh, that gives me access to Delightful Agonies as a psychic power, whereby you select a Slaanesh Heretic Astartes unit within 18 inches, and they get a 5+ Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
That's pretty tasty.
Isn't it?
That makes them even more survivable.
So 5+ Feel No Pain. They'll have a 4+ invulnerable save. You'll be put Prescience on them. You'll be hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. And you'll chuck out 36 shots on the turn that they deep strike in, assuming you get all the psychic powers off, which you should statistically. You've got cultists guarding your screen at the back, and while you're trying to nibble away at all those things at the back, there is 3 full Rhinos of Khorne Berserkers with Khan coming up your gut, right up the... Yeah, that's nasty.
If I do your plan and take a single Venom Crawler, drop the Exalted Sorcerer, drop the Greater Possessed, and take a normal Sorcerer and Cultists, that leaves me enough points to run a Sorcerer at 98 points and 2 squads of 10 Cultists as well, or a single squad of 20.
Yeah.
Whatever
you need for the double battalion. Yeah.
Yeah, you need 3 squads of 10 Cultists.
Oh, you're on about if I run the whole thing as Black Legion?
No, you've got put the Greater Possessed and the Sorcerer in 1 battalion with the Cultists and the Obliterators and the Venom Crawler, and then put Khan and the other dude, the guy with the mace, with the Khorne Berserkers in the other detachment.
I could do that, because what I could do then is, if you're running 2 battalions rather than a spearhead, you remove the need to have 3 heavy support choices, and you can drop the single Obliterator. You can run 3 Obliterators, a Venom Crawler, many Cultists, Master of Possession Sorcerer, 1 detachment with Greater Possessed. Why would you put the Greater Possessed in the Black Legion one out of interest? Because the World Eaters one makes sense with the extra attack. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
There's lots to play with. There's lots of options.
Yeah. I mean, double battalion's the way to go, I think, though. 13 command points is going to be pretty
13
nice.
command points with Endless Cacophony and Vets of the Long War is absolutely key. So I'm instantly looking at doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, there's a question that's just literally dropped in the chat from Ninja Breadman 77B. I have to say welcome because he's just joined us from Wellington, New Zealand. He said, can't really see the point in adjusting Obliterate units to size 1 to 3. Do you really think we would ever see anything less than the 3-man unit on the table? I think you'll see Spearheads with a 3-man unit and 2 1-man units of Obliterators.
Yeah.
Because I just think deep striking a single man Obliterator onto an objective is actually really quite strong.
Yeah.
Especially with their six shots now, and they're a lot tougher. Toughness 5, 4 wounds, 2 up save.
That's true. It's quite a lot of points to spend on just to grab an objective.
True. True, but
There's
you're
probably
talking,
more efficient ways of doing it.
You are talking, like Winters said previously, you are talking about something that kind of operates like a dreadnought, but it can deep strike onto an objective.
Yeah, I'm not against the idea.
And you have to remove that 4 wound toughness 5. I mean, they're tougher than Blightlord Terminators, for Christ's sake. Well, apart from they've got disgusting resilient, obviously.
Yeah, and also it's the numbers as well, isn't it? With Terminators,
of course it is.
You've got a lot of them.
So basically, that's what I came up with roughly off the top of my head. I'm already now thinking about swapping for a sorcerer, but I like the idea of 1,000 Suns Exalted Sorcerer in purely because I'm reading Black Legion.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, I say reading, listening to Black Legion. And Archaon in Black Legion is 1,000 Suns Sorcerer who's working for Abaddon as his, basically as his assassin. It is cool as hell.
Nice.
Yeah, love that. I know you're reading that one soon, Winters, right? When you go on holiday.
Yeah, I've got it in the Kindle ready to go. 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, he's leaving me again.
Oh,
I know, horrible, isn't it?
Have you put the feeder out?
No, I haven't put the feeder out, but I have been working on my beach body.
Jesus, what, your beach body to look like a beach ball? You mean?
She hasn't let me buy ice cream for the last 6 weeks.
Why?
Because I eat a lot of ice cream.
Right. Yeah, I think there was a battle report that proved that as well once.
Yes, that was good.
How about a list with something like, I don't know, let's get crazy here. Say you got 3 Shadowspear box sets. So you're working on 6 Obliterators, 3 Venom Crawlers.
Yeah.
That's over 1,000 odd points right there. And then swarms of cultists charging forward, and then maybe a couple of units harassing, maybe some spawn or some Greater Possessed just charging up the gut. So you've got cultists, you've got Greater Possessed, you've got some spawn, and then a lot of Daka just moving, trudging forward.
Yeah.
What about that sort of list?
Very Black Legion with all the cultists.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see, for a list like that, it'd be very interesting to see what happens with Abaddon with regards to his points and what happens with cultists around Abaddon. Because if his points are reasonable, that much cultist screening Abaddon and that sort of firepower stroke melee ability walking up the field could be very interesting.
It strikes...
Yeah, go on.
No, you go on.
Just one big blob of mass moving forward, laying down lots and lots of firepower. I see that as a strong list.
Yeah.
I was going to say, one thing that strikes me about all this is that there's going to be a lot of sprues of Chaos Space Marines sat in drawers doing nothing, isn't there?
They're probably... Well, I'm going to get them all done because I think for narrative games that we put on things like deploymentzone.tv, having Chaos Space Marines is key. Because I don't care what anyone...
Well, if you ever play Grey Knights and need to pull some punches, you can put some Chaos Space Marines in there.
Yeah, I mean, granted, don't get me wrong, when you compare them to almost anything else in the... I mean, they're probably one of the most underused units in the whole Chaos Space Marine Codex because they're just poo. There's only... I mean, maybe even Chosen use even less than Chaos Space Marines, but from a narrative perspective, I'm going to be having a battalion's worth of Chaos Space Marines at least because they're Chaos Space Marines.
You've got it really, haven't you?
The only problem I had before with Chaos Space Marines in any list is that the models were a bit rubbish.
Yeah.
And these new ones are glorious. So we are going to have Chaos Space Marines. Now, I'm going to have minimum 1 squad from Shadowspear, and then I'm hoping they have a decent multi-part plastic kit that I can have another 2 squads that look different from the squad from Shadowspear. So kind of like what they did, even if it's kind of like what they did with Death Guard.
Yeah, I mean, if they're anything like the sort of scale that Intercessors are to Mini Marines, though, you can do a bit of arm swapping and stuff. It's not.
Yeah,
it doesn't look that out of place.
But
so you can do conversions. It's only plastic. It's not that hard.
But yeah, I mean, the list you're talking about, when it's with the cultists, is interesting, especially since I've just read that. I don't know how I've ever missed this before, but Abaddon has a rule that allows all friendly Heretic Astartes units within 12 inches to automatically pass morale.
Yeah.
And somehow a Chaos Cultist is a Heretic Astartes.
Yeah. Well, Abaddon with cultist blobs is a known trope.
Yeah, which has somehow bypassed me. I don't know how.
Yeah.
But he also gains you command points. He's actually... I've never looked at his rules in 8th edition, ever. I just haven't, because I've played World Eaters since we've got the Eternal Slaughter, so there's been no need to look at it. Even when the model came out, I went, I'm getting him just because the model's so good. This is the first time I've looked at Abaddon's rules, and this will be interesting. So we've got this new model coming. We'll touch on this quickly. We've got this new model coming. It is incredible as a model. When I saw recent Primaris Kalgar, I was like, please don't do that to Abaddon. Please, I don't want him to look like he comes to the battle on a happy bus. Like, like Kalgar does. Abaddon's model is incredible. His rules, I'll be interested to see if they change them much. Because his current rules are decent.
What's his stat line like compared though?
He's a normal 6-inch move. His weapon skill, ballistic skill you would expect from Abaddon is 2+. Strength only 4. I reckon you may see that go up to 5. Toughness is 5. Wounds is 7. I reckon he'll gain a wound. Attack 6. Leadership 10. Save 2+. Talon of Horus is a rapid fire 2, strength 4, AP -1, D3 damage, bolt gun basically. He's got Draconian and the Talon of Horus in melee. The swords +1 strength, AP -3, D3 damage. Roll a D6 each time he fights. On a 1, he suffers a mortal wound and cannot use the weapon further. On a 2+, he can make as many additional attacks with that weapon. So you could potentially have 6 + 6 attacks. He could rock 12 attacks with that sword.
Yeah.
The Talon is ×2 strength, AP -3, D3. So basically, it's a power fist that doesn't suffer the -1 to hit.
Yeah.
You get 2 additional command points. He's got a 4+ invulnerable save. You half all damage rounding up that hits him. He's reroll failed to hits for all Black Legion. He's got that thing where you automatically pass morale, and he's obviously got teleport strike. So he's horrifically good already.
Yeah, I'll say apart from that toughness, the strength and toughness thing, there's not much else you change on that.
No, I think if you give him +1 strength, maybe an extra wound or 2, sort of hit Gulliman levels of. So Gulliman's what, 9 wounds? Gulliman 9 wounds, right?
Yeah.
So give Abaddon 8 wounds. I don't think he needs much more than that to be an absolute boss.
Does he have any? So he makes Heretic Astartes auto pass morale. Does he have any other buffs?
Yeah, reroll all failed to hits within 6 inches.
Auto hits, yeah. No.
That's pretty huge as well for Abby.
Definitely, yeah.
Imagine that with the Blitz Winters. Abby with reroll all failed to hits naturally.
Yep. So, a couple of things. One, the new Cowgirl model is great. How dare you, sir?
It's not.
And 2, what I'd like to see with Abaddon...
Why is he waving like this? Why is he waving like... It's just...
'Cause that's his classic pose.
It's not a classic pose. It just looks like he's got his jumper stuck. It's just not a classic...
Heretic, your taste is not in question here. Your taste, you put the milk in second, and you shaved your beard off so everyone could see your face.
But
so
I grew it back.
Yes, I know, because you had to.
I just showed my raw. Everyone got to see the me, unlike you, and you're hiding behind that hat the whole time.
Women and children were stopping in the street, screaming and running the other way. That's what was happening. Now, what we want to see with Abaddon is, yes, you could pimp his rules a little bit, but what I want to see with Abaddon is his aura abilities, change to his aura abilities, and I want to see the Black Legion trait change. That's what I'd like to see.
So what would you do with his aura abilities then?
Don't know, but something that helps him buff a Black Legion when he's on the table, in the same way that Gulliman buffs Space Marines when he's on the table. He's a commander. Abaddon is a commander of the 13th Black Crusade. He should do something army-wide or have an aura, which is better than his reroll everything aura.
But Gulliman rerolls all failed to hits and all failed to wounds as a Primarch. Abaddon rerolls all failed to hits. So all he's missing is that reroll failed to wounds, and he's exactly the same as Gulliman then. And I categorically don't want that, because I think Gulliman's boring currently. Because he rerolls all failed to hits and reroll all failed... We were chatting about this before. Because he rerolls all failed to hits and to wounds, all you see is Space Marine castles with him in the middle, hiding behind his men. Some would argue that for an Ultramarines Primarch, that's narrative. Commanding his men from within the ranks. Some would argue that's narrative, and I get that. But he's a Primarch with a giant flaming sword.
I'll say it's just a waste of a cool-ass sword, isn't it?
Yeah, I just want to see him running in and slapping stuff with that sword. Interesting.
It's just basically a pointing stick, isn't it?
Yeah. And my concern is, if you were to change Abaddon, even if you were to say rerolls all failed to hits and rerolls to wounds of 1, I just think you'd end up with seeing him in the same type of Chaos Obliterator type castle.
Well, he needs something. Last time Abaddon went running in against the 13th, he met Sol Garrow coming the other way, and Sol Garrow cut him down. So he needs something.
That's already been put in the chat by Sorcerer Dave, a boss except when he's fighting Sol Garrow, apparently.
Yep.
The other thing,
I'm looking forward to the rematch.
There's 2 things I'd like to see from Abby myself, personally. The first one would be a Black Legion trait change, and what I would love is 6-up filler pain for Black Legion models. It's not broken. It's not turbo broken. It's not disgustingly resilient broken. But that sort of indicates that they are veterans of long, long wars. They just survive and exist and continue. The other thing I'd like to see is that because he's got the mark of Chaos Ascendant, and therefore he's got all 4 Chaos marks, Khorne, Slanesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch, I would like for him to allow all cult troops to be troops choices. This is a completely selfish reason in Black Legion's armies that include Abaddon, which would allow me to continue to take Core Berserkers as troops.
No, but I completely agree. From a narrative point of view, that's the kind of or army-wide ability that changes things when you bring Abaddon that I would like to see.
Yeah.
Yes, that's good.
Because I just like the idea of Abaddon heading it up and your 3 troops choices being Berserkers for 1, Death Guard for a second, Rubric Marines for a third. Sorry, Plague Marines for a second, Rubric Marines for a third. That's really cool and very Black Legion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'd love to see.
Can you do me one favour? Can you stop calling him Abby? It makes him sound like a page 3 girl.
Why?
Just calling him Abby. It's just a strange.
What's wrong, Mikey P, with page 3 girls?
Nothing, but there aren't many in 40k that I'm aware of.
It's a shame, isn't there?
It is something that's lacking from the game. But I believe there are third-party model producers you can go to for that kind of thing, should you choose.
Yeah.
He has got a lovely top knot.
He has I'm glad that's where you went with that one, yeah.
Oh, what you wouldn't do with that.
I am. I mean, I'm really chuffed that they dropped Abaddon. Honestly, really, really chuffed because he needed a resculpt. But I had resigned myself to the fact that we were going to see Fulgrim and what's his name, Angron first.
Yeah.
I honestly thought we were going to see Demon Primarchs of those two before we saw Abaddon. I'm so happy that Abaddon's dropped.
Yeah, it's. I guess from a narrative perspective, it's great to introduce Abaddon because you've got these campaign books and stuff. And thinking about it, what narrative would follow to introduce, Fulgrim or Angron? They would need some sort of narrative threads to bring them into it.
Yeah, they would. Interesting. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, we know that Angron and Fulgrim exist as Demon Primarchs.
Yes.
We know that they're around.
Yes.
It's very easy to bring them into the fray as opposed to certain Loyalist Primarchs who have been missing for some time. I know the Dark Angels book pointed at the fact that the Lion is slumbering in the deepest depths of the rock. So we've kind of been shown that he exists still.
Yeah.
I know that they believe
Lehman Russ come back as a Loyalist Demon Primarch.
A Loyalist Demon Primarch.
Well, it'd be all wolfany, wouldn't he?
Yeah. That's kind of like, I guess, the Lion then is a Demon Primarch because they're Chaos, right?
Pretty much,
Simon's in the chat. He'll definitely bite.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. So anyway, interesting. Basically, I'm super excited for this Shadowspear stuff. I mean, exceptionally excited. One thing we will touch on very, very quickly. We've had a look at what I might. So basically, the long and short of it is, I'm looking at chucking in Obliterators, a Venom Crawler, a Master Possession, and a Greater Possessed at least because I think they're really cool. So basically, I'm looking at utilising everything in the box with the exception of Chaos Space Marines. Winters, are you looking at adding any of this Vanguard stuff as a part of a core continued used sort of portion of your 13th, or are you just looking at it and going, well, I'll add it for some options for different games, but nothing's going to be a sort of stalwart part of the list?
Yes, I'm adding suppressors straight away because I think a lot of people are interested in Primaris only lists, and I think suppressors would work in Primaris only lists because they've got a long range firepower. So I'd like to get 6 or 9 suppressors and slot them straight in with your Hellblasters, with your Jumpy Dudes, with a couple of units of Intercessors. That's it. It might be worth putting in some Eliminators as well, some of the Snipers, just to see how well they do, but I don't think they're going to do very well. I don't think the Deep Strike Denial, the 12-inch Deep Strike Denial, is going to be useful in most gameplay circumstances because you should be screaming quite well anyway. You should be pushing people back. So the suppressors are good. We are going to see them.
Yeah, I think this that's what annoys me the most because out of the whole box, I think the suppressors are the worst, and I mean the whole box, including the Chaos. I think the suppressors are the worst looking models, and yet from the Loyalist side, they are probably the best unit in there. And
they don't benefit from hardly any of the actual, the psychic powers or.
Yeah, they don't encourage you to bring the Librarian or the Captain in Phobos because their buffs affect Phobos, and they're not Phobos. Which is a really odd choice.
I would just like to say at this point that I called that this would happen last week when I said the derpy models are going to be the popular ones because everyone wants to piss Liam off.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Because Games Workshop personally want to piss me off, basically. Right,
yeah.
That's what happens. Specifically me only. Because they watch Warhammer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
Cool, right, okay. So I'm quite happy with that as a chat for now. I think we'll do that because we've actually rambled on for nearly 2 hours now.
Oh, we?
Which is quite impressive, yeah. So
Oh,
before I get told off, we'll say goodbye to the YouTubers who are currently watching us, and then we'll stay in the chat on Twitch for a little bit longer like we normally do and have that little informal chat that the YouTubers don't know about, but they do now if they've watched this video. Basically, if you don't already know, then we podcast live on Twitch currently every single Sunday. There is a schedule on the Twitch homepage, which is at www.twitch.tv/morehammerliam. If you check that homepage, there's a banner on the screen when we're not streaming, and that will tell you when the next one is due and the time and date. Every now and again, it will be on a Monday instead of a Sunday because I work night shifts and I can't stream on a Sunday from work because my boss would get upset. So check out that, come and check out the Twitch page, hit follow, and you should, if you turn the notifications on, get notified even on your phone when we go live, and then you can come and join us. And you've seen how busy the chat is, lots of people come and join us, and it's wonderful to have you come and join us and chat with us, because this goes on for ages because you just ask questions and we keep talking, which is, amazing. We currently do have a raffle ongoing. I'll remind you again, Element has supplied us with a Shadowspear box to raffle off. If you go to the Twitch page and hit the donate button, £5 gets you a raffle ticket, and that money that's donated to the channel is going direct to charity, because Mikey P and Andy Byrne, who's a patron of the channel, are doing 10 kilometres of walking in 2 days.
No, 100.
100 kilometres. I mean, 10 was impressive. 100 kilometres of walking in 2 days in aid of
Parkinson's UK.
Parkinson's UK. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Mike
very
P,
much. Yes.
Are you, with this 100 kilometres, are you going to just go around in circles, or are you going anywhere? Like
No, we're
Bristol?
going. We're ends in. I can't remember where it starts, but it's a route. Ends up in Avebury, at the Standing Stones.
Ends up at Avebury, lovely pub there.
Yeah. I'm hoping so.
It's down the road from me.
He's going to be thirsty, so
You're going to come and cheer us across the line?
no.
No.
Ah.
But for any Americans listening, that's route.
Yes. Although I'm not going to cheer you across the line, I am sorting out a raffle to give you loads of money. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm doing my bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll probably come and cheer you for a bit. And the question, can you post it to New Zealand? I'm prepared to post it anywhere in the world. If you buy a raffle ticket in aid of this charity, I will pay the postage to get it anywhere in the world, New Zealand, America, wherever. I don't care. If you win it, it'll go. As simple as that.
Awesome.
So everyone who's prepared to sort of chuck £5 at minimum in for a ticket, if you pay 10, you get 2 tickets, etc., etc.
Yeah.
There we go. Right, big shout out to all the patrons who've joined us as well tonight. Thank you very much. If you loved what you've listened to tonight, we have lots of sit and talks that happen, along with bat reports every single Tuesday on www.deploymentzone.tv, which is our website with Mr. Winters and I.
Yeah, you're coming up tomorrow, and we're going to do another DZHQ where we're going to sit down and talk for another hour and a half.
Yeah, and we will as well. That's the problem. We will literally sit and talk for another hour and a half about something completely different. So if you've enjoyed this content, check out www.deploymentzone.tv. That's our website. We have bat reports every single Tuesday. There's a DZHQ roughly every month or two. We've got the big debates on there, which is a mini comedy series basically, because it's not serious. And I'm going to try and get Mikey and Brom together to do some big debates this Saturday coming. So that'll be good fun.
More dicking about.
Yeah, we're basically trying to stick even more on DZ because it's just great fun. Love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And finally, a huge shout out goes to Element Games, our sponsors, who have supplied us with that box for your raffle.
Thank you,
What
guys.
a bunch of legends.
Yeah, thanks so
they've
much.
also been doing lots of little shout outs and stuff on social media for us recently as well, which is awesome. So thanks, Matt. You're a hero.
And also like some of the things that you put in your parcels to
there's some of those photos that I get sent through are definitely appreciated by the DZ team.
Yes.
Anyway, thanks very much. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, check out the other ones. We've recently covered each individual unit in this kit. We've covered the Assassin's Rules. We've covered narrative events, all the kinds of stuff. And we'll be live again next Sunday. So check those out. Check out the bat reports that are going. And that's about everything. Anything you want to add, Mikey P?
I do not believe so.
Anything you want to add, Mr. Winters?
Why does it take you 5 minutes to say goodbye?
Because I've got to cover everything because it's professional.
Because he's got a big gob.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very well covered.
Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Love you, bye.